The following is a Hoop Ball presentation. Welcome to the Fantasy NBA Today podcast.
Tell me you weren't excited, not by the scrimmages themselves on Wednesday, but by Twitter being filled with basketball stuff. Tell me you weren't excited by that. If you say you weren't excited, you're a liar. You're a liar and a thief, and I won't have it. I won't have it. I won't have it. Here's the thing. Here's what and I know I talk about Twitter a lot on this podcast, and as I'm saying it every time, I think, well, why am I doing this right now? But I do, and you guys have probably gotten used to it at this point, so, if it ain't broke, I guess. The Twitter feed for Hoop Ball Fantasy yesterday had the blurbs were like the season was going. Miles Turner limited, Rui Hachimura 18 points, Reggie Jackson gets the start, De'Aaron Fox participates in non-contract drills. It was magical. I mean, it was like I was back in the regular universe after existing in a parallel one for the last 4.5 months. And I know these were scrimmages, and I know they don't really mean anything, but it was just something. There was something calming about looking at our Hoop Ball blurb feed and it being actual basketball stuff. Basketball stuff. Some stats were in there. Heaven forbid. This is Fantasy NBA Today. What's happening, everybody? It's Wednesday morning-ish, I guess, depending on Thursday. What the hell? I've lost complete track of the days. Today's Thursday? Oh, my God. So yesterday was Wednesday. Woof. Remember I said yesterday I was going to say something stupid? Today I'm saying something stupid. You guys listened to the beginning of the show and probably restarted it. No, it's Thursday. It is. I'm certain of it now. I've looked at a calendar. It's Thursday. Hello, everybody. Hello. I'm fully aware of what's going on around me. Really, I promise. I'm Dan Vespris at Dan Vespris on Twitter, DanBesbris. This is a Hoop Ball presentation. Thanks to everybody that's continuing to listen here during these weird times. I was just texting with our buddy Lyle Swithenbank, host of the Hoop Ball Pelicans podcast, about how hard it's been to come up with fantasy-relevant content for 4.5 months here. And now all of a sudden we have this blitz of fantasy stuff, and then it's all going to go away again. Oh, goodness gracious. So we did have some mild NBA news yesterday, and we'll go ahead and break a little bit of that down. And then we'll do a little bit of draft recap again. Remember, I mentioned on yesterday's show we were going to be looking at a second resumption draft. The first one we broke down was a mock that I now think is going to get played out. This other one is a real one, and I'm in it with a bunch of folks that are operating off of our resumption draft board. So it's been an eye-opening experience. Also very excited, tomorrow's podcast, Friday's show, will be joined by new hoop baller Adam King. Very excited about that. He's got his first article out at Hoop Ball right now. We'll talk about some of the value plays he's found during the resumption, a little bit on kind of his fantasy background. Should be a fun show. That's tomorrow, and that'll carry us through the weekend. For today's show, I want to continue to thank everybody for checking out manscaped.com. You guys have been doing a wonderful job, and I'm pretty sure that we are locked into a nice deal with our new partners, so keep checking them out. Code is HoopBall20 for 20% off and free shipping on your Manscaped products, such as the Lawnmower 3.0. A year and a half in the making, upgrades on the Lawnmower 2.0, because 3.0 comes after 2.0. Built-in LED, pinch-free design. It's fantastic. Go check it out, manscaped.com. Again, coupon code HoopBall20. Make sure it works before you check out. That should be 20% off and free shipping. I've heard, well, because remember early on there was an issue where it wasn't working right. So if you're trying it out, feel free to let me know. I'll give you some extra publicity on Twitter if you want it. Here's the thing, too. Their stuff works on, I know their shtick is like you manscape and they talk about below-the-belt grooming. It works on whatever. Like, I use it on my neck. Right? I don't shave very often in quarantine. So when I do, I got these, kind of long hairs. I don't want them pinching. Check it out. I highly recommend it. Reminder once again, everybody, if you'd like our draft board that we've been working off of, go to hoop-ball.com/newsletter. Hoop-ball.com/newsletter. You sign up there and you get the links to the draft board. So let's talk a little bit about this other draft that I've been in, which was initially the one that I thought was, going to be the only money draft that I was doing for the resumption leagues, and now all of a sudden that became 2, and that's fine. And this one was weird. This one was weird. The previous one, which is an industry draft, are actually pretty good in a situation like this. That one I enjoyed immensely because everybody's working off of their own boards, and you're going to see guys kind of flying off in weird places. You can also, I think some people probably doing more work on it than others. Honest to goodness, if we didn't have this podcast, I probably wouldn't have done nearly as much work on this as I did. But frankly, the need to have fresh content every day for these 4.5 months sort of forced us to prepare for this resumption season and to make sure that we were doing something with it. So I feel like I built a hell of a team in that league. In fact, let's go through that very quickly, the team that I ultimately built in that league, and then we can flip back over to the other one. So I just made my last pick. We only went 11 rounds. Am I getting that right? I think I might be screwing something up. I don't know exactly how many guys were starting. The settings will probably get moved around a little bit, but we only went 11 rounds in that one, and I feel pretty good. I got Anthony Davis, Kyle Lowry, Rob Covington, Tobias Harris, De'Aaron Fox, Evan Fournier, Marc Gasol, Dennis Schroeder, JaVale McGee, Kent Bazemore. I feel really good about those 11 picks. And the thing is that they're sort of weird guys coming off the board at weird times because everybody is working off of different knowledge. The problem with this other league, this Resumption Roto League, which most people I think found because Adam King tweeted it out, we took some names, and then folks that were followers of Adam and followers of myself jumped in it. Some of you are probably listening to this podcast right now. You guys know everybody on my board. It's out there for free, just in the open at hoop-ball.com/newsletter. It's just floating around. And I know that for the regular season, you guys all have my list of people also. But for the regular season, there's like 900 different draft boards out there. So a lot of you guys, you take some of the guys that I like and some of the guys that Brew likes and some of the guys that the dudes over at the ITL and Roto or whatever, you put them all together. So I'm generally not drafting against someone who is exclusively using my board. I don't really know many other boards out there for this resumption season. And I even said something in the chat room, and you guys are probably listening and just laughing at my expense right now. But for those of you that are not in this league that I'm talking about, it is uncanny the way that guys are coming off the board in almost the exact order on the resumption. How does Brew do it with the B150 every year? He puts this list out, and he knows tons of people are going to be drafting right off of his list. Everybody knows who I'm taking in this draft. So you got to sort of zig when everybody expects you to zag just a little bit. Maybe mess with your strategy a tiny bit, throw some curveballs in there. But dang, I will say this, it's illuminating for a very different reason than the industry draft was. The industry draft was illuminating because there were guys that are snatching and grabbing all kinds of weird players at weird times. That's the stuff that's like, okay, well, maybe this is the type of stuff I'm going to be dealing with. But then we get into these other ones, and it's like, oh, no, actually, there's like 2 resumption draft boards out there that people are working off of, and we have one of them. So either you're working off the Dan list or, there's one other list that's out there. And it's pretty obvious who's got which. Like 8 or 9 of the teams are working off of our draft board in this thing. So we'll move through this quicker than the industry draft because, frankly, I would just be giving the analysis that I gave when I made the draft board. Like here, let's just go through it round by round. And what I think we'll do today is knock out the first maybe 4-ish rounds. So we'll move a lot faster in this one than we did in the industry mock draft. And it's possible that today's podcast is more in that 25-minute range. If I had to guess, there's frankly a lot of stuff going on in my home today, which I'm not thrilled about during a pandemic. So get in and out, get on with our deal. Also, quick, by the way, a number of you have actually written in to get involved here at Hoop Ball. There's been a surge of interest over the last couple of days. If anybody else wants to do so, hit me up at Dan Vespers on Twitter or email teamhoopball@hoop-ball.com. All right, so let's start blitzing our way through this real resumption draft results and see if we find anything interesting. First round, I'm going to read off all 12 names, and we'll go from there. James Harden, Giannis Antetokounmpo, Luka Doncic, Jason Tatum, Anthony Davis, Damian Lillard, Nikola Jokic, Russell Westbrook, LeBron James, Kawhi Leonard, Nikola Vucevic, and Jimmy Butler. Now, I'm fairly certain, and now I feel like I need to triple check myself. I'm fairly certain that this is a 9-category roto league because I see turnovers listed there on the homepage, both percentages, threes, points, rebounds, assists, steals, blocks, the traditional 9 category. So a couple of, one name in particular surprised the hell out of me, but 2 were fairly surprising, and those 2 are Doncic at 3 and Westbrook in the middle of the first round. I mean, there's just I don't fully follow that one. I just don't. I mean, there's no way he's playing in all 8 games. He's back from COVID, so he's getting a late start on practice. He was 37 in what I would call a really good regular season. Like, there's no universe where he's a first-round guy anymore in Houston. He's not. I mean, you'd have to be averaging a triple-double again, and that's not happening with the Rockets. I know his usage is through the roof, but that one's a crazy one. I don't think I'm going Giannis at 2, although, again, it bears note, if you're punting free throws, then he is a top 2 or 3 guy. I don't believe that this team was punting free throws, but you also have this sort of 8-game sprint mentality, which is, what if he actually shoots like 75% for 2 weeks from the free throw line and he doesn't tank you there, then yeah, he has a chance to move back into that early to mid first round. The reason, maybe even beyond the free throw thing, why I'm not on the Giannis deal with this, we've talked about it before, is the Bucks have no reason to play him in all 8 games. They don't even have a reason to play him in 6 of them, but they probably will. And so when you look at this, there's just so many reasons to not want to end up with that where there are these other possibilities. And I get it. I took Anthony Davis in the other draft. So a lot of you are like, Dan, you're a damn hypocrite. The Lakers can wrap this up in 3 games. Why wouldn't they play him only in 6? Yeah, they might. They might. But the difference there is that AD was the number 1 player on a per-game basis this year, and Giannis was number 20. It wasn't really that close. AD was like 3 Giannis's this year because he didn't have that giant gaping hole at free throw percent. So that's why I'm willing to take that risk and not the other one. Luka Doncic at 3 was also an interesting one, and I get it, similar issues to Giannis, where high volume 75% of the foul line was bringing him down, and he's like a souped-up version of Russell Westbrook these days. But again, Luka was 24 on a per-game basis in the regular season. He gets the advantage of probably playing 7 or even 8 games, so he definitely gets a bump forward in that department. But I don't see how, unless he shoots like 85% and actually makes free throw a positive impact value, I don't see how someone makes that leap from 20 to 25 range to top 3. Luka's got a better shot than Giannis because Giannis isn't going to play as much. But you got these other guys floating around, like Jason Tatum, who's almost definitely going to play 7 games. Jokic, probably 7 or 8. Dame, unless they get eliminated, he might even play in all of them. Kawhi probably sits one out, but, he was number 3 on a per-game basis this year. And I take these guys because the potential for 1 extra Doncic game this season actually would have still left him behind Kawhi Leonard. Still would have been behind him. And there's no guarantee that he does play 1 more game. Maybe. I think odds are probably, but maybe not. And then Westbrook is the one that drives me up the wall because he wasn't even inside the top 20, and he rests back-to-back, and he's coming off a positive COVID test. I don't know what this dude's doing in the first round. But otherwise, things are fine. I think I would have rearranged some of these names. Kawhi, you would have likely seen a bit earlier on our list. I like Jimmy Butler at the end of the round there. Vooch was our pick. We had 11th, which was a difficult spot to be because Kawhi came off the board, and I thought that was going to be my guy coming up on my spot. But, Jokic, Dame, AD, Tatum, those guys all belong in some order, early to middle first round, and then LeBron kind of towards the mid-end of the first round. Everything else looks pretty reasonable there. Second round, Chris Paul, which pissed me off. I thought he'd be there for me at 14. In fact, I would have taken him and left Vooch if I didn't think he was coming back. But Chris Paul, gone. Kristaps Porzingis, this is where I had to zig where everybody thought I was going to zag. Joel Embiid, Paul George, Devin Booker, Kyle Lowry, DeAndre Ayton, Ben Simmons, Drew Holiday, Rob Covington, Pascal Siakam, and Bam Adebayo. I mean, again, you're looking almost at the Dan list here, where Chris Paul went before me, which annoyed me. Kristaps Porzingis, I went that direction because, what the hell? Maybe catch lightning in a bottle and he goes top 5 in 7 games here. So there is that little knock. Joel Embiid right afterwards. Paul George, those guys all make a lot of sense there. A little surprised Paul George isn't falling farther, but again, I think a lot of people are working off the same information that we are. Devin Booker is probably the one guy, at least early in this round, that I don't think I'd go that early on. The Suns, there's no reason for them to run him ragged. I think his minutes will be down. He had a really good season, Booker did, and he was still at 32. So I don't know how much better he could possibly be. And even if you shave off the 27% of teams that aren't there, you're still putting him in the 20s in this resumption campaign, and here he was going at 17. So a little bit too early there. Kyle Lowry at 18, you guys know I'm good with that. Ayton, I think of the Suns, has the potential to actually play in more games because he just didn't play in any during the regular season. Also, he was better on a per-game basis than Booker. Ben Simmons, I like that one. I think he'll play plenty. Drew Holiday, maybe a little bit early for my liking. The question there is, do they go all 8 games? If he shuts down early, you're in real trouble. If he goes all 8, this could end up being a pretty good pick. We have him a little bit lower, but not by a ton. I'm not super upset about it. Rob Covington at 22, good with that one. Siakam 23, Adebayo 24. This just comes down to whether or not Bam is healthy enough to start the resumption campaign, which I think he probably will be. Round 3 was Lonzo Ball, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Brandon Ingram, Rudy Gobert, Donovan Mitchell, Tobias Harris, Miles Turner, Jared Allen, Jonas Valanciunas, Freddie VanVleet, Jamal Murray, and Chris Middleton. I'm struggling to find too many guys that I have issue with here. Lonzo, maybe a little earlier than I would have gone, but we have him relatively early, and I actually thought he was better with Zion than without. Sort of a question to be answered perhaps at a later time. Shai, good with that one. Ingram would have been early if Zion was there, but with Zion gone, Brandon likely gets a big bump back to what he was doing early in the season. Rudy Gobert, probably a little earlier than I would have gone Rudy, just because, again, he's talked about having these lingering COVID symptoms, and there's trouble brewing in Utah. Donovan Mitchell right after him. I think he'll probably play in at least 7 of the games, so I'm good with that one. Tobias Harris, yeah, that's fine. I mean, truly, I think you could probably let him fall a little bit farther. I think he hits this number, but I don't know that you had to take him yet. But again, you kind of got to get your guy in this format. Miles Turner with Domantas Sabonis on the shelf. He obviously gets a big bump further. We've moved him up our boards. Jared Allen, relatively early on Jared Allen, but there's nobody else. There are no big men in Brooklyn, so he could end up being really good. Valanciunas, I love it. Freddie VanVleet, I love it. Jamal Murray, love it. And Chris Middleton, right around where we had him ranked on our board. I mean, this is like almost a carbon copy. Everybody's going off in almost the exact order we have them on our board. It's crazy, man. It's a weird world to be on. Let's do one more round here, and then we'll wrap up a quickie today. Jaren Jackson Jr. went at the beginning of the 4th round with no Jonas Nader in this one. He fell to a more predictable spot at 37. Karis LeVert at 38. Gallo 39. McCollum at 40. All of this seems relatively reasonable so far. DeMar DeRozan 41. A little bit early for me on that one. I mean, if he plays 4 or 5 games, you can get some really big ones, but I can't see the Spurs playing their guys all the way through. Rashawn Holmes, he's getting a big bump these days with no Marvin Bagley. I love him in the 40s here. Big fan. And he's all the way up to 34 on our big board now after some adjusting. Domantas Sabonis, it's a roll of the dice here. So is Kemba Walker immediately thereafter. Kemba, by the way, some news this morning that he's practicing today, or scrimmaging today, but not tomorrow. So they're going real light on him. pretty early to be going John Morant. Mid-late fourth round, guy that was in the 120s during the regular season. No thanks. No reason to roll the dice there. DeJounte Murray, love that pick. De'Aaron Fox, like that one too. And then Hassan Whiteside at 48 is a possibility. So, listen, here's the thing with Hassan Whiteside. We have him at 63 on our big board, and I don't know that I'm going to go much earlier. It's conceivable that Yusuf Nurkic and Zach Collins they don't have the stamina, and Whiteside is still really effective because we've seen him. He can do a lot without 30 minutes. And when he got 30 minutes, he was a first-round guy, but he could be, top 70, top 80 in 22, 23 minutes. So if he still gets 24 or 25, he could actually hit this mark. I'm just generally concerned that Nurkic and Collins ramp up and Whiteside then ramps down. I don't hate it. I don't hate this pick. If you're going to roll the dice on someone, he's a guy that it's sort of fine to roll the dice on. But to me, there's too many ways that it can go south. But I don't hate it. And that guy's got a pretty good team. When you start with James Harden, you can take a couple of risks, as that dude's playing at least 7 of these 8 games. He's probably going to try to play in all of them, and he's going to lift you up on his shoulders. It's good to be the first pick guy. It's good to be the king. So I know we're only about 21, 22 minutes into this podcast, but I want to keep today's relatively short because we've got extra stuff to talk about tomorrow. We've got Adam on the pod tomorrow. Today is a blitz, basically through the top 50 of this one. And general news. A couple of pods that have come out in the Hoopball Network. Ethan and JC have a new Hoopball Lakers show out there. DFS Today had another episode. They're going daily now. Mike and Aaron, welcome to the team. Aaron Asmus, one of the newest Hoopball DFSers. And it's just it's a good time, man. With basketball ramping up, it's a good time to be following Hoopball and hoop-ball.com and all the cool new stuff that's going on over the website as well. So I leave you with this on this Thursday morning. Happy MLB reopening day. That's it. Enjoy baseball tonight, folks. It's a quickie today. Tomorrow, back at you with Adam King. He's at Adam King 91, by the way, if you want to follow him on the Twitters. He's the newest hoop baller, and we will be talking to him tomorrow. So this one, short one. Tomorrow, longer one. I think you guys will be fine. Have a great Thursday, everybody. We'll talk to you then.
This has been a Hoop Ball presentation.